Your body is rejecting his seed because your soul, the baby soul, understands the future pain that would come from this type of connection. So this will be through a miscarriage, this will be through a spontaneous abortion, this will be through a stillborn, pretty much any type of phase. Um and so I am a firm believer that not every pregnancy loss is medical, okay? A lot of it is divine protection from a lifetime of suffering. This was even witnessed through my friend. My really, really good friend ended up getting pregnant. And her and I hadn't talked in a while, just primarily because she used to deal with toxic men. And I don't deal with women that deal with toxic men. I don't, because it's too much of a liability. And so I kept myself at arm's length from her. And I remember, because we're friends on social media, but at the time I would only see her on social media. And I remember, this is how good I am. I hadn't seen her in person in forever. I hadn't seen her in person in literally 7 years. And I remember she posted a picture, and like the caption was happy, but how she looked, I just knew something was wrong. I could just tell. She had the makeup on, she looked pretty, but I could just tell in her spirit something was wrong. And so I messaged her. Something just prompted me to message her. And I said, I hope everything is okay. I hope that you are doing well. And so she pretty much had told me, she had a miscarriage. Well, this is actually what happened. She started bleeding while she was pregnant. She was in her second trimester and she was pregnant. And she was bleeding and she went to the hospital. And the hospital told her that she had placenta previa. Placenta previa normally would not cause any bleeding. That is just when, not just, but that is when a portion or a portion of the placenta will cover the cervix. And depending on how much of the placenta covers the cervix will kind of debate how serious it is. Kim Kardashian had placenta previa with her first pregnancy. That's the reason why she had to get a surrogate for all the pregnancies after, because she had previa. And this is a story to show you how important spirit is. When they gave her that diagnosis, she was like, I know that wasn't what the diagnosis was. She doesn't even do ultrasound. She does x-ray. And she says, something told me inside that is not what was wrong with me. She went to another hospital and it turned out that she actually had placental abruption, which is way more severe than previa. Placental abruption is life-threatening because what's happening, and like I told you all, the man builds the placenta was ripping away from the uterine wall. That's what ended up happening. So that's why she was bleeding. The uterine was split, the placenta was splitting apart from the uterine wall, causing her to bleed. They had to airlift her and she had to get surgery. And she calls her baby daddy, who was very abusive, who was very toxic. He literally held her hostage and drove her out to a field and threw her phone away and left her for dead, essentially. And she called him and he was on his way to take a flight, and she literally told him, they are rushing me to surgery and I have a 50% chance of living. Me or my baby, one of us is not going to make it out of this. And she asked him, and she said what hospital she was going to go to. He took his flight. He did not go to the hospital to go care about her or his future child. And unfortunately, she ended up losing the baby to surgery. And then she didn't understand it, and she was depressed. She couldn't take a shower. I mean, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible what she went through. And so her and I got a little bit close, and, I told her, I was like, she was still dealing with him and she was sleeping with him still. And I mean, she was just a completely different person. She started smoking cigarettes. She started getting these dark bags under her eyes. She just turned into a completely different person because of this man. Looked like a different person from this man. And she still kept dealing with him after the fact. And I would tell her, like, he's toxic. And it took for him to just become completely unhinged for her to finally understand. And I remember she finally was like, you want to know what? I get it now. Like, I understand why I had that happen. And it was because the spiritual realm, it was rejecting me having a baby with that type of man. Because why would I ever want to bring a child into that with someone that treated me like that? So that just goes to show you how the signs will be there. You know what I mean? The signs will literally be there, and the body will show you how it doesn't want this. This is not something that is good for you until the body is literally rejecting it. So, typically, and I talked about it earlier on the other channel, women who will miscarry from toxic men, once they break up with that man and they find a healthier relationship with a better man, they have no problems. They end up having no issue having a baby with that man, because it had nothing to do with the woman and everything to do with who the man was. And yes, it was Kim Kardashian. She had placenta previa her first pregnancy. This is why I think that men who wanted to end Roe v. Wade want women to be in struggle love relationships and be stuck with them, because they know they would get a legacy any other way. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that we're seeing men for who they are, it's turning a lot of women off. It's making a lot of women think twice on if they want to procreate with these fools. My cousin suffered a stillbirth last year. Her husband was emotionally abusive the moment she found out she was preggers. Exactly. Exactly. They'll be perfect up until you're pregnant. And so you'll be cool, the first trimester, and then after that, they start getting controlling, they start getting abusive, they start being emotionally abusive, and then that's what ends up happening, because that baby is picking up on everything, because the mom. And there's also a tie to this too, with like your maternal grandmother. I'll have to like make a video about this too, because a woman, this is something that you should know. As a woman, all of the eggs that you're born with, all the eggs you're going to have. You're born with all of the eggs that you're going to have. So your maternal grandmother, when she was carrying your mother, she was carrying you. Your mom was carrying you in your grandma's womb. And so any epigenetic generational things from your grandma got carried on to your mom, and then got carried on to you, because you were already in your mom's womb already, because those were all the eggs that she was born with. And so you're already, as a baby, as an egg, you're already picking up on this thing. So once you develop as an actual fetus, you are even more in tune with spirit and what is going on, and your soul can choose to just decide, I don't want to put up with this. I don't want to put up with this. And then there are other souls who sign a contract, and if in a past life they had it easy, they were an heir, or they were a princess or something like that, their soul will decide, I want a hard life. I want a different contract to teach me adversity. Your soul signs up for whatever lesson you did not learn from the past. So that is how some children are born, and they're born, they don't become stillborn. That's what their contract is, to have a life of adversity, because that is their lesson that they're signing up to learn, because they didn't learn it in their last reincarnation.